Now, you hear people talk a lot about 19 hands. What is a 19 hand?
No point.
0 point.
0 points. You pick up your cards and you got a 9. That's what they say. I got 19. If somebody takes 19 on the board, check it out. Actually, there's no scores for 25, 26, or 27 either, but nobody says I got a 25 hand or 27 hand. So there are actually no scores for any of these numbers, 19, 25, 26, or 27. If you got that many points, you counted wrong. The other thing that should not surprise you too much is a 0 hand. There are 220 ways to score 0. Yeah, they're numerous. I mean, compared to other hands, they're not frequent. If you think about the crib, though, if you made a bar graph on the crib, the longest bar, by the way, is 2. If you make a bar graph on the crib and you put 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on up, the longest bar on the graph will be 2. So if you really get good on the crib, and we'll show you some ways you can later, you can average about 5 points if you really concentrate on it. Most people average about 4.4. And the cribbage is a game of numbers, and the differences are very small. For instance, if you're looking in the middle of our club, let's say a 500 batting average, win half the time. National champion wins 8% more. Is it possible for you to move from 50 to 58? See? Actually, you see, we tend to think of a scale of percentiles as 100%. Well, the poorest players get about 400, and the best get about 600, 40% and 60%. So you're not talking about a range of 0 to 100. You're talking about a range of 20 points. And if you can improve 8 or 9 points in that smaller range, that's a tremendous improvement. Tremendous improvement. And so I think that sometimes we lose sight of that we're not talking about a possibility of winning 100% of our games. You would be rolling in the dough if you played weekend tournaments and you won 60% of your games. Your picture would be on the front of Cribbage World 2 or 3 times in that year. Bet on it. Okay. Now on the back of this little thing you got here called 1.6, there's another way of looking at it. Is everybody in here able to tell colors? Am I the only one that can't tell colors? Okay. So I have a bigger problem than most of you. I go by the shape. Diamonds and spades are pointed. They're the same color, but they're both pointed. So once in a while, the only color I can tell is yellow. That's better than my brother Gary. So once in a great while, somebody will catch me holding a flush of spades with one lousy diamond in it. Of course, they spot it immediately. And of course, I just see the point on the top of it. I never get hearts and clubs. It's different. But the diamond and the spade are both pointed. So if you can tell colors, you have an advantage, because you can actually see these pairs in terms of black, 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 red, black, 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 red, so on. I don't see that, but that's one other way to see. I arrange these in a square or the triangle, but there is a way, if you see colors, to think black, 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 red, red, black, so on. And on the back of this, there is a chart that shows how that works with clubs, spades, hearts, and diamonds. And you could see we used the 7s there, and it would show how many of those would add up. And then at the bottom, it tells you what the score would be. I do want to talk a little about the scoring combinations. We're going to take a break just for, here in 10 minutes, so if you need to make a run for something, we'll take a break and then holler if I go past 7:30. On the back of that page that's numbered 1-7, there's a chart. And you're going to find many times during these classes I'm going to emphasize the importance of holding a flush. A lot of people miss the flush and the benefit of holding a flush. Now when you get down here in this score chart, you see on the left column there it shows 0 to 29. And then it will show you these different hands that are possible. Now if you get over here with a flush, you'll see when you get up here into these strange numbers, like 11 points, there's 146 ways to score that with a flush. You see, and the other counts are small. If you look at 13, there's 77 ways to score it with a flush. If you look at 14, there's 185 ways to score it with a flush. If you look at 16, there's 96 ways to score it with a flush. If you look at 18, there's 37 ways to score it with a flush. Very, very frequently, the best possible hand you can hold is a flush. Very frequently. And I'm going to show here, the next paper is called Double Run Hypnosis. Because a lot of folks hold double runs automatically, thinking that it's just the best possible thing they could do. Well, sometimes it's the only possibility you got. But let's say you've got a 2, 2, 3, 4, that's a double run, or you've got a 2, 3, 4, 9 of clubs. Much better to hold the 2, 3, 4, 9 of clubs. How many do you have by holding the odd card with the 2, 3, 4? You got 15, 2. You got 9 to begin with. How many did you have if you kept the double run? 8. And the other advantage, now my cards aren't all tightly bunched. If you've got 2, 2, 3, 4, you can't get away if I put a small card on your lead. But if you had enough sense to play the 2, 3, 4, 8, the 2, 3, 4, 9 of a suit, you've got an escape card in case you don't want to peg. Very, very important. You'll see as we go along that there's other reasons too. We'll get into pegging. We'll be talking about faking a flush, where you let the dealer see 2 spades. It might be a 6 and a king of spades. If I'm showing you a 6 and a king of spades, your mind might already be working. Why would I keep a 6 with a king? They're both spades. Ha-ha, he's got a flush. And then I'll surprise you. The other 2 cards are diamonds. But so on. But you can fake a flush and get an advantage in the pegging game.